Don't let the look fool you. With me doing the intro, the live intro. Uh, my Kitchener Rangers are in the Memorial Cup or the Canadian Junior Hockey Championships yesterday. Because this video comes out on Saturday, May 23rd. Kitchener beat Kelowna 5-0, so we're 1-0. We play next Monday and Tuesday. So maybe, just maybe, there'll be a hockey episode of The Simpsons to review. But nevertheless, we've went through 20 seasons, 20 episodes. Season 23 is Lisa Goes Gaga, one of the worst ever. Season 19, That 90s Show, Homer and Marge's dating thing. Season 24, when Homer and Bongo were the best of friends, but Bongo bit Burns. Season 3, Homer at the Bat, the one that beat The Cosby Show, First Man's Education. And of course, when The Simpsons were on Thursday nights. Season 21's Olympic episode, going to Vancouver and all that. Season 11 with Maud's death. We talked about that and how Jerkhouse Homer came to sight. Season 15's Tis the 15th season when Ned gets jealous of Homer. Season 9's Principal and the Pauper, The Jump the Shark. Season 5's Homer and Pooh. I needed a Pooh episode, and this one was the best. Season 7's Lisa the Vegetarian, when Lisa turns to being a vegetarian, kind of takes off her family and gets Paul McCartney and to guest star. Season 22's Love is a Strangled Thing, Many Strangled Thing, trying to justify Homer strangling Bart and all that. Season 31's Todd, well, why have Faust? Forsaken Me is the one when Ned goes over the wall with his flying devastation and kicks Todd out for not believing God after what he did, taking Maud away. Season 35's Lisa gets an F1 because, come on, it's F1 and Lisa needs a break. Season 16's gay marriage episode, the one that ticked me off because of the couch gay in the lieu of NHL lockout, but I kind of liked it. You know, Patty coming out of the closet and Homer selling out his anti-gay beliefs for the money. Season 32's Diary Queen, I wanted to point that out, saying that Edna had faith in Bart, and Bart does well, and then Lisa, for some effed up reason, decides to ruin it for him. And then I talked about the Family Guy episode where they paired up with The Simpsons and how it may have given The Simpsons a second wind. And of course, a lot of us are saying, look, Bart the Mother from season 10, I talked about that one. Of course, Marge and Bart's dynamic. Season 17, how a B plot in an episode, like the Lisa Lives in Italian, can turn into the A plot, them going to Italy to get Mr. Burns' new car. Homer's Enemy from season 8, one of the best episodes ever, and with one of the best one-time characters, that'd be Frank Grimes, and how it basically made Homer the good guy in the situation when he should have been the bad guy. And of course, last time we talked about season 18's Kill Gil with Marge's inability to say no and how mentally unprepared she is and how lots of things factor in her thing. So today we are not going to look at a new Simpsons episode. We would have been looking at season 34, which won the draw, but unfortunately I couldn't find anything from season 34, so we are going back to another non-Simpsons episode. But this is a Simpsons episode in a sense. This is the Simpsons movie. And yes, I will talk about the Simpsons movie in its glory, I hope. Jerkhouse Homer, Marge's worries, Bart's pranks, Lisa's causes, Maggie not talking a lot, Grandpa being senile, Patty and Selma boring Marge, Arnie Sif is a jerk, Chief Wiggum making things happen, Mr. Burns being a dick. You can never stop the Simpsons. Heaven knows they've been trying for years and they still come back for more. 37 seasons is a bit much, don't you think? It's a crazy Simpsons. Something happens. A do 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 do. This is not a clip show. Have no fear. I've got topics for years. So you'll see, like, it's kind of like the trailer for the Simpsons movie, like the picture and all that. So we're going to talk about the Simpsons movie because we would. I was thinking about maybe the South Park episode Simpsons did it, in which, you know, Butters as Professor Chaos tries to ruin things and all that. And then Dougie, his General Disarray, says that Simpsons did it, and Butters goes into a rage. But I don't want to give South Park any credence. They basically have fallen off the map. So, nevertheless, we're going to talk about the Simpsons movie. And I actually got to watch this twice in the theaters. Once I was actually home. I didn't have to work in the afternoon, so I snuck to the movie theater to watch the Simpsons movie. And then my brother Edward decided to take me to see the Simpsons movie, and I of course didn't tell him that I knew everything. Anyway, so the Simpsons movie starts with an itchy and scratchy short, which is kind of cool and all that. However, Homer goes bonkers, deciding to say boring. Lisa tells him, Dad, don't make a scene. And basically, he makes some kind of rant saying that why are we seeing a movie about a TV show we can watch for free and all that. And then Green Day does a concert. A lot of Springfieldians are featured in the crowd scene and all that. Green Day did a Simpsons theme thing and then wanted to talk about the environment, but everyone hates on the environment and throws stuff that sinks the barge of Green Day on Lake Springfield. So they have a memorial for them, even doing a organ style of American Idiot. Anyway, Homer and family arrive late. Homer basically says, "Why do we have to grieve him? I want people to grieve me on my deathbed," and makes some point. Of course, he makes a scene in a sense, and then Reverend Lovejoy wants people to talk about things, and Ned does. And Homer thinks that Ned's going to come out of the closet, but Ned doesn't. He annoys Reverend Lovejoy, who basically wants someone there. And then a light comes in, shines on Grandpa, who is sleeping away, and basically will not go away until Grandpa has his vision. So Grandpa goes bonkers and has a spiritual experience, saying that disaster will befall a twisted tail, a thousand eyes, the people being trapped forever, and Eepaw, Eepaw. Of course, Homer and the family think that he's going bonkers, so they basically roll him in the church's rug. Basically, the prophecy of sweeping things under the rug. So Marge takes Grandpa seriously, but the family doesn't. Anyway, Lisa tries to get people to sign a petition about the environment because Lake Springfield is starting to suffer and all that. Millhouse wants to join in, but Nelson basically bullies Millhouse, saying that global warming is a myth and all that. Because, yeah, but we all know Millhouse is probably doing it to try to be with Lisa. I mean, Millhouse being foolishly in love with Lisa is nothing new. It's been there before and after the movie and all that. And of course, the terrible prophecy about Lisa and Millhouse, probably as a marriage, is that Millhouse is allergic to everything. He's kind of shown as a loser. They do have a kid. Well, that's different. Nevertheless, Lisa meets her Irish boyfriend, Colin, and they decided to have the town clean up the lake. In the meantime, Bart and Homer have a dare competition, and Homer decides to tell Bart to skateboard from the house to Krusty Burger and back naked. How naked? The whole 10 yards. But girls will see my doodle. Homer declares him chicken for life, and then Bart decides to take him up on it and does it. He skateboards past Ralph, and Ralph does a Ralphism. I like men now. Oh boy. So anyway, Bart's thing, the euphemisms for his wiener is there, and we for one still frame we see his cock and balls. Anyway, the cops want to take him out for in the name of American squeamishness. Bart then gets hit by the bullet with the skateboard and falls right into the window of the Krusty Burger, in which Ned wants them to bless penis. And the boys go, bless the faux penis. Amen. Basically, Bart is held at Krusty Burger until Homer can come play with him. Nelson spends hours ha-haing him, and Bart then tells Homer, once Homer finally pulls back up, and says that, tell him you dare me to do this. Is this true, Simpson? If it is, you're in deep trouble. Homer slyly says, what if it was my fault? He would have to go to a parenting class. So he decides to throw Bart under the bus. Ned actually is nice and actually gives Bart a pair of pants, saying that the boys sometimes pray the knees out of him. And Bart's like, why are you trying to be nice to me? Anyway, Bart is mad at Homer for throwing him under the bus. But Homer goes to his next project, trying to save a pig named Plopper from being butchered after a Krusty commercial. So Homer fawns over the pig and all that, and basically leaves Bart to his own devices. So anyhow, Bart decides to take Ned up on his offer to do stuff. So Ned takes Bart to the Five Corners. Of course, the spoof of the Four Corners. And also, he takes Bart fishing. Bart accidentally drops Ned's rod and he goes, of course, this is audio, so you don't know it on video. However, Bart notices Ned's not even close to him. Aren't you supposed to strangle me? No, I'm not going to strangle you. I'm just going to give you a pat on the shoulder. It does prove that Bart does simulate him being strangled sometimes. I think trying to get Homer to stop going full throttle, if you will. So anyway, yeah. So they're having it. Marge is obsessed with trying to find out what Grandpa's prophecy is like, and basically trades the video comic book guy makes about Grandpa in exchange for her lady sweatpants, which comic book guy loves. So of course, Homer brings Plopper home, and then Marge threats because it's a twisted tail, curly straight with the tail of a pig. The Thousand Eyes is when a squirrel is mutated and all that. People being trapped forever is under the glass dome, and of course, EPA is the Environmental Protection Agency. So anyway, Marge orders Homer to dispose of a silo full of Plopper's feces, and Homer's own as well. I don't know why Homer would do that. And you need a silo. Wouldn't that be a red flag with a silo of pig feces? So anyway, Lisa manages to get the town to clean up Lake Springfield and to make a barrier good enough that nobody can dump stuff in it. Not even Cletus can. So Homer looks at the overflowing silo and is ready to take it to the dump. Unfortunately, though, there's a line, obviously. And then once Lard Lad gives away free donuts, Homer wants to dump it in as fast as he can. So somehow, in some freaking way, he manages to smash through the barriers and puts the silo into the lake. I don't know why. After polluting it, Russ Cargill, kind of a substitute for Hank Scorpio, and all that, head of the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, says to President Schwarzenegger, who of course could have been Rainer Wilcastle, I wish it was Rainer Wilcastle, that Springfield's pollution crisis, and gives him 5 solutions. Schwarzenegger picks number 3 down the pike and seals Springfield off from the rest of the world under glass dome. So practically, now Springfield's pollution is their problem. Of course, the town goes nuts because, they're trapped and all of that. They just can't get out. And all that. So anyhow, the news report says that they finally found out what was polluting the lake. Homer's silo. Homer tries to deny it, but the proof is always there. Now the town will launch him. Over 300 characters were in that famous scene with the pitchforks. Now you've done it, Homer. You have really done it. However, they're saved by the fact that Maggie discovered a sinkhole. So all the Simpsons go into the sinkhole while Marge, before she's ready to put in stuff into the sinkhole, actually washes the dishes. Are you nuts? And then Homer somehow gets into the sinkhole and starts flipping the double bird to people. But he sinks slowly because of his weight. But they do. So they're outside the dome and they're happy as they can be. Well, Homer is kind of. So of course Homer is told, "What are you going to do about this?" So Homer and the family go to a motel, and Homer then tells the family his intricate plan, knowing that he was one day going to ruin the family and force them to be kicked out of town. And just to note, this is before the episode at long last leave season with the 500th episode when they were booted from Springfield. So basically, Homer gets this intricate plan. They're going to move to Alaska and all that. They're going to have fun and everything else. The family's not so sure, but Homer makes a speech about how Marge should be with him at all times. And he does all that. People online have actually figured that Homer purposely did this so that he can move to Alaska. Well, Homer had the foresight to realize he may fuck things up heavily. But I mean, how did he know about this environmental thing? I don't think Homer was that smart. So they have nowhere to go. They do trick another family taking the fall for them. And then Homer uses a global death and gets a motorcycle. So anyway, Springfield is through the supplies. The family tries to make Alaska last, and then West Cargill tricks President Schwarzenegger into choosing an envelope that will see their town be destroyed and all that. Tom Hanks advertises a new Grand Canyon where Springfield is. And, Marge and the family actually fell to save Springfield because they owe a debt of gratitude. And Marge tries to tell Homer the same speech saying that you're with him, all the way. Homer basically storms out saying, no freaking way. And Marge's like, Homer, we're trying to help you out in this situation. Why can't you help us out? I mean, to be honest, Homer has a point. I mean, the town, if they go to try to save the town could kill them. Like, I get Homer's POV, I really do. But Homer refuses to help and basically storms out. And then Marge tapes something saying that she had to save Springfield with the town and basically was upset that Homer wasn't willing to help. Taped a message over their wedding video. Of course, the wedding video could not have happened because we all know Marge and Homer had a shotgun wedding because of the whole Bart situation. Like, the families were there and all that. But maybe it was some kind of celebration after the wedding. And then why? And then we hear, why do birds suddenly appear, close to you by the carpenters? Homer has an existential crisis and then is found out by an Inuk shaman, shaman, a medicine woman, who basically tells him about an epiphany about his selfishness and says that his family and the town needs to be saved and all that. We would actually see the Inuk shaman in the Vancouver episode I reviewed about 3 months ago, and and talks to Homer and makes Homer realize his stuff. So the Simpsons are on a train, and Marge thinks something's wrong about surveillance. So sure enough, there's a train conductor which actually has a recording device. So the EPA finds them in Seattle, captures them, and puts them back in the dome. Well, they were going to come back anyway. So Homer lands from Alaska to Springfield, and then the EPA lowers a time bomb suspended by a rope through a hole in the top of the dome. And the townspeople try to climb the rope to escape and all that. Homer then somehow comes in, returns to Springfield, and descends the rope. Unfortunately, though, Homer inadvertently knocks the townspeople off and knocks them into the countdown, the bomb countdown, shortening it, and basically the town's ire and all that. Homer feels bad about himself. However, what ends up happening is that Bart doesn't know what to do. Ned actually wants to welcome Bart in with open arms, but Rod and Todd basically give the no, no, no signal. But then Ned says that Bart should be happy with Homer and all that, and says that you owe it to your father to help him. So Bart agrees and helps Homer out with using the motorcycle to travel up the side of the dome with the bomb, and the Bart throws the bomb through the hole seconds before it detonates, shatters the dome, and freeing the town. Cargill is mad at Homer for ruining his plan, but Maggie comes out of freaking nowhere and knocks him out by dropping a rock on his head. Fortunately, though, Homer's a hero, and Springfield basically is okay, and they ride off into the sunset. So, of course, it's like how many episodes? Like, like it By 2001, they actually wanted to do a movie. Actually, season four's Chad Krusty was supposed to be the everlasting Simpsons movie, but they couldn't fit 2 hours into it. All that. There was actually rumors that there was going to be a live action film based on Troy McClure, but it didn't work out. So by 97, they thought about it, and then 2001. So, anyway, they worked on the screenplay and all that. Had lots of drafts and all that. And animation, casting was huge. Yeah, the mob had 320 people. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's funny about Rainier Castle. Editing and all of that. Um, so there will be a lot of things and all that to do with it. Marge was supposed to be the prophetic vision, but it went to Grandpa. They had to revise Colin too many times and all that. And some say Millhouse was going to act as Lisa's love interest in the movie, but they said it didn't work out. So anyway, yeah, they talked about the Bart's penis being shown in that Derek thing, and they actually got away with it. They were worried that it would turn it from a PG-13 rating to an R rating, but nope, it wasn't because it was not live action and it was not a male genitals, like adult genitals. Um, there were rumors that King and Cordos were going to be in this movie and all of that. They had the preview screenings in Portland and Phoenix. And some of Homer's behavior was too unlikable. Okay. Cargill scene with Bart and Homer at the conclusion was supposed to bring things going, and Spider Pig was in as a late addition. There were deletions such as Homer's encounter with a Versace truck driver, a scene with Flopper the pig, and news reports showing the dome's effect on daily Springfield, such as farming and sports. All that. There were a lot of musical numbers that got cut. Music did their job. The themes about a man should listen to his wife, and they talk about religion and environmentalism and all that. There's a massive thing about the theatrical and all of that. There were some 7-Elevens in the US and even one in Canada that actually transformed into Quickie Marts. There were a lot of promotions and all of that. There was a movie called The Simpsons Game and all that, which was okay, but I kept getting in trouble with that game and all that. So yeah, a lot of things happened. Box office, it actually earned $30 million on opening day, making it the 25th highest opening day revenue of all time at the time. Remember, this is 2007, and it outperformed the expectations of $40 million. When it closed, it got $183 million in the U.S. and $536 million worldwide, making it the eighth highest grossing film worldwide and 10th highest of the U.S. in 2007. There were mostly positive reviews and all of that. And polished rating that harkens back to the early days and all of that. Metacritic gave it 80 and all that. Given 4 out of 5 stars. 85 minutes was not long enough to do justice for 17 years and all of that. They praised Julie Kavner with her heartfelt performance and all of that. Anyway, there's fun and all that. It was like patting and all that. Accolades, winning a few awards and all that. And then by 2014, there were rumors that there would be a sequel. In the post credit scenes, Maggie even speaks the word sequel. So everyone wanted to know about the sequel and all that. So by 2014, they said they were ready to make a sequel and all that. And then by 2018, they said a sequel was in development. But unfortunately, it was stalled because of the COVID pandemic. And September 29th, 2025, Instagram released The Simpsons 2 as a working title. Homer's coming back for seconds. And they said July 23rd, 2027 was going to be the release of the movie. Unfortunately for them, it's now have to be September 3rd, 2027, so next September because of a Minecraft sequel. So the question on everyone's lips is like, how did I enjoy it? Well, it was all right. I mean, it did have the hallmarks for all the family. Homer being a jerk and, his actions causing a lot of consequences and all that, of course, with the whole silo thing, and Homer's childlike wonder with the whole Bardlike Donuts thing. Marge constantly worrying about things and trying to keep herself grounded and in the center of the family and all that, and wants to help the town despite the fact that it could ruin her. That makes sense. Bart, his childish pranks and all that, that led him there. And it also spoke to the theme that Bart actually does not care for Homer at times and cares for Flanders more because he thinks that maybe he should have been Flanders' kid. And Flanders treats him a whole lot better than Homer, especially with the fact that he doesn't choke Homer. I mean, Bart. Lisa and her outspokenness, her environmentalism was there too. Although Lisa wasn't as pushy as she should have been, it was still there. And Maggie being like, off center and all that, that was also there too. Yeah, it just fit a lot of themes and all that. Milhouse trying to fawn over Lisa, the town getting mad at Homer and his pranks, someone trying to ruin Springfield. Yeah, there were a lot of themes. There were some callbacks to the Simpsons movie in a sense. Plopper appeared in a few episodes, including one in which Marge feng shui's everything, and basically Homer has to have to give up something that doesn't enjoy, which was Plopper, but Plopper gets adopted. The shaman, as I said, came back in the Vancouver Olympics episode, wants Homer to pay his bill and all that, and a few other things. There was even one episode in which Mr. Burns goes gaga, and then once he gets better, he decides to drop a dome on the town, but the town's indifferent, saying this has been done before, and that there are ways to get out, and Burns kills that plan. Just saying. So anyway, that's it for the Simpsons movie. I think I did pretty well. I figured it'd be half an hour, and I was close. When I did the randomized draw yesterday, it was for 137. It couldn't be a season I already did. It landed on 26, which is pretty cool because I had a gap between each seasons 25 and 30 that have not been done. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything for season 26, so I'm gonna go to what I call my backup stuff. And by randomization of that one, it drew 16. I did the gay marriage episode of The Simpsons at number 14, so about 7 episodes ago. However, I did have a backup for season 16, and we will go to the backup for season 16. So get your shin pads, get your cup, get your helmet on. We're going Simpsons Super Bowl style 2005, in which the Simpsons did a Super Bowl episode after a great Super Bowl and before the start of American Dad. Fooey. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.